Hello everybody and welcome back to Legendary Lunacy. I'm your host, Lord Papa Lunacy. We've got another creepypasta today. If we've not read your creepypasta yet, maybe you should comment down below what your favorite story is. Because we're not getting any comments down below, so we don't know what to read next. We're just reading off the list, like just all the lists on creepypasta.com. So if you got a story you want us to read, or if you want the longer stories, anything like that, comment down below. Let us know what you want to hear, and we'll do our best. If the power cuts out, we are in the middle of a storm right now. I'm trying to record as many as I can before the storm gets back to us and gets worse. So hopefully we'll get through this before then. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So this is Shed by Roan. The rain had barely relented. John looked out of the sixth-story window again, away from his TV flickering a save screen. Between the raindrops streaking the window, John could see the guy that lived in the front of his apartment building. John could see the guy that was living in front of his apartment building. The man's name was Ted, and he seemed like a genuinely good person. John had, on multiple occasions, seen Ted hold the door open for people, return dropped wallets, and he once even saw him perform the Heimlich on a drunk from the bar around the corner. They never had a full conversation, but Ted always smiled and exchanged niceties when they passed. Recognizing a good person who had been reduced to living on the streets was an intrusive thought most days, one that was easily quelled, but not tonight. No, John had been anxiously glancing out since dusk, unable to concentrate on his game. He'd hoped Ted would make his way to a shelter, that he'd choose to help himself, but it didn't look like that was going to happen. The past couple weeks had been rough on John. Drowning in the wake of a messy breakup, he didn't have much of a friend group left to lean on. He moved here with his fiancée, they'd met people together, and then that was that. His misdeeds made the separation surgical. If not for work, he'd be a recluse at this point. Seeing Ted down there, alone and isolated in the storm, felt like he was looking in a mirror. Thank you, John. No need to thank me, Ted. It'll put your mind at ease knowing that you're not alone. You're not out there in this. It'll put my mind at ease knowing you're not out there in this. Huh. This isn't nothing. I'll take a cold rain over snow or ice any day. Ted pulled off his hood, revealing a mousy face with a dark, soaked mop. A peculiar bald spot took up a significant portion of the skin right behind his right ear, until he abruptly swept his hair over to cover it. They both rode the elevator in silence. This was the first time John had actually seen Ted without a hat or a hood or a cover of night. He'd always obscured himself when he was outdoors, but not now. In spite of observing Ted, as kind and harmless, seeing him in the light gave John an uneasy feeling. Ted's skin was weathered, but different from tanned. Hardened homeless man that lined 34th and Bellevue. Ted's skin was worse for the wear, sure, but had a translucent quality that almost made it shimmer in the fluorescence. I'm just over this way, John said to Ted as they stepped out of the elevator. Ted's eyes wandered, looking in the opposite direction. Room 6024, just down the hall over here, John said as he paused to watch Ted staring the other way. Without turning, Ted said, I actually have a family friend that lives on this floor. I didn't know they were home this weekend. But now I'm wondering if I have my dates mixed up. Do you mind if I check? Yeah, sure. Ted walked down a few doors and knocked. He waited a few seconds and then turned the handle, walking in and leaving the door open behind him. John went over to look, but it was too dark. Ted? The fluorescent glow from the hall bounced around the entryway, and an image of a cluttered room slowly appeared in John's eyes as he adjusted. The room seemed to be hoarder's paradise, although there wasn't enough detail in the dark for John to tell what exactly the apartment was filled with. Hey, Ted, I'm gonna head back to my place. Just knock if you need anything, okay? I don't think I'll be able to stay here tonight. Could you give me a hand reaching something? I think there's a couple extra blankets I could use. They won't mind. I have some at my place. It's all good. Don't be so nice. I don't want to dirty up your stuff. I'll just take a second. John sighed, moving through the doorway into the dark living room. He turned towards the light at the end of the hallway. The stench of the apartment was unpleasant, but bearable. Like a nursing home, coming to the light of the bedroom doorway, Avoiding the scraps of trash in the ground, John saw Ted hunched over a chest. Around him, reaching to the ceiling in spots, were stacks of leather. John glanced at the piles closest to him and gagged. The hides were rigid husks of dozens, maybe hundreds of people, flayed and cleansed of all traces of violence. Turning back towards Ted, John's eyes snapped to the knife. His limbs were stiff. He couldn't move. Ted turned, sweeping his hair out of his face. Started to cut a shallow incision around his bald spot. Using both his hands, he slowly peeled off his face, like a molting snake. Splitting his skin at the shoulders, Ted sloughed off the translucent husk until there was only a silhouette of raw muscle standing in the middle of the room. John, let me come clean. I actually rent this apartment. I have for a while now. I don't live here, though. A home weighs on a person. Don't get me wrong. So does living on the street, big time. There's something heavy about being cooped up. It gets unbearable. Once you left enough skins in the room, even if you get rid of them, the smell never really goes. Instead of trying to deal with it, I started using this space as storage. Anyway, you're right. I'll find some covers at your place. And don't worry, I don't judge. The ones you brought home can't smell worse than mine. Huh. Yeah, I'm very confused by the abrupt ending like that. Yeah, this is a good gold wheel. It's a good concept, but it still needs a bit more meat to the story for it to make any sense. Good start, yeah. I think it's just the ending was just so abrupt. I was a little confused. Like, I mean, you could tell when I was reading right here. The hides were rigid husks of dozens, maybe hundreds of people flayed and cleans of any. It just came out of nowhere, so I was so confused. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If there are any comments you have, leave them down below. Please comment below with your favorite stories if you want us to read those. If you have another story you want us to read, good or bad, doesn't matter. Just let us know. It doesn't have to be a creepypasta. It could be any story. But without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the darkness around you because if you don't, who will? Have a good night, guys. Love you.